Well, hello, my radio friends. Now, I'm going to touch on something today on this Philco, and I'm going to try to be as quick as I can, but I promise you there's a fair amount of information I want to cover, but I'm going to try to go as quick as I can. So this may end up being a little bit lengthier of a video than I like, but please bear with me. Many of us have seen this Philco dial one sees here. Now, they use it on this particular model, the 38-7. They use this dial on a couple different variants, but it was very short-lived. What a lot of people don't realize is this particular dial, this switch, this shaft one sees here, is actually a 3-position switch. When one pulls the switch toward the operator, one could traverse across the dial in what's called speed dial mode, and with no audio, to simply run across the dial to whatever station you proceed. In the intermediate position, one could speed dial across the dial, but this time in that position, one will have audio. And lastly, the most inward position is for your station presets. So out, intermediate, and in. And in this video, I like to touch on, with a little more specificity, exactly what is going on. As one can see, here is the front of the dial, with the escutcheon removed, the dial removed, and here's our tuning arm, as we spoke of just a moment ago. Now, let's remove it from the set. First thing of concern one must always do is this area you see here. This is a switch contact. There's a little switch in the back of this arm that rides across this surface right here. Make sure this is good and clean. I use quadruple-aught steel wool, and I polished it real good, cleaned it, and then put a light film of lubricant across it just to prevent for corrosion prevention. That area must be clean. What I want to touch on now is this particular arm. Let's look at this arm with a little more specificity, shall we? Here is the arm. Here's how it rotates around the dial. Here is that switch contact I spoke of a moment ago. This is what actually rides against that surface we just spoke about on the back side of the dial. Clean that contact. Now within this arm here, here's our switch we spoke of a moment ago with the 3 positions. There's in, intermediate, and out. Once again, there's fully out, intermediate, and in. And there's a contact here, but there's also a switch located within this housing. If one was to measure from this contact to the frame in a full outward position, one will have continuity between that contact and the frame. Intermediate position, you will lose continuity between here and the frame. That will go open. And in a full inward position, once again, you will regain that continuity. You will have continuity from that switch contact to the frame. So let me touch that one more time if I may. Full outward, you can have continuity from this switch contact to the frame. Intermediate, you will be open between the switch contact and the frame. And inward, you will regain the continuity. You will have continuity from here to the frame. And that's done by this switch that's located within here. And this is nothing more but a detent, a spring-loaded detent, to keep this arm from popping in and out. It just merely rides in the shaft. Remove this shaft and clean it very, very well. That's important as well, because once again, this here is a contact, a switch contact. Easy to remove. Take this detent spring out, this little loosen the jam nut, and remove that, and this piece will slide out. Clean it very well. Lubricate it, slide it back in, put your detent in. Very simple. Now, what is really kind of a marvel of this whole thing, beyond what we've already spoke, is when one pushes it into the detent position or to your preset position, what happens, and I'm hoping you could see it in the video, it pushes against this little contact you see here. And it doesn't do it in my hand, because what it'll do is it'll push this contact, and then arm will come out, grab this switch contact, and pull it off. It'll break that continuity between here and this front of this dial spring, this dial we just spoke of here, because this is where that switch contact rides upon. When you push it all the way in, and this hits the conical preset, which I guess I need to touch on that real quick. Here's your conical presets. These are threaded. One merely would loosen these, position them wherever they wanted, and then tighten them back down with the special tool. Now, I've never known anybody to have this tool. I've heard rumors of somebody making one, but I've never seen one in real life. But here's your presets. They roll around the dial. One merely puts it where they want it and tightens it down to secure it. Now, when you push this arm in, that conical preset's gonna go inside this cup you see here. When it does, it pushes this arm up slightly, and then when you push the lever in, it reaches up and it pulls that contact back ever so slightly, and it breaks that ground connection. So that's the 3 ways the switch operates. Fully out, once again, continuity from here to the frame. Intermediate, you will lose continuity from here to the frame. Shoved all the way in, you will gain continuity from here to the frame. But in that position, once again, this plunger pulls this contact back only in the third most inward position and pulls it away from that plate we spoke of and breaks the ground. So a rather engineering marvel, over-engineered in my book, but I hope that clarifies things a little bit. It may confuse things even more. I don't know, but if for some reason you do have any questions, I know I ran through it rather quickly, I didn't want to have a terribly lengthy video. The first one I did was well over 12 minutes, so I tried to shorten it way up. But should you have any questions or concerns or whatever, all you got to do is ask, and I'll answer any question I can. I appreciate y'all watching. I truly do. And of course, as always, until next time.